To order of the Town of Rocky Hill Commission on Aging. Commissioner Kevin Tuttle.
Commissioner Tom Kusker. That was loud.
Commissioner Rebecca Markowitz.
Commissioner Dora Cobb.
Commissioner Ron Cox.
Excellent, thank you. Next on the agenda is appointments and resignations. I don't believe I have heard of no appointments or resignations, so I don't think we have anything for that today. Next is approval of minutes. You should have all gotten a copy emailed to you of the minutes from the last full meeting on Wednesday, April 27th. I will entertain a motion to accept the minutes.
Motion to accept the minutes.
Second.
Second by Ms. Judge. Commissioner Judge. Any questions, comments, discussion? If you've had an opportunity to look at it, any edits, any changes? Okay, hearing no discussion. All in favor of accepting the minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There you go. Motion passes 6-0. Move that aside. Report from the Commissioner Chair. That is me. I don't have too much to report on tonight, so it'll be kind of quick. Again, a couple highlights more for the public that might be watching or listening, and the public that's here in attendance. We did have some DOJ training for the commissioners and some of our community partners from the Department of Justice. We did some training back on June 3rd and June 4th, and the training was around facilitating facilitating meetings around community conflict. So it's a division within the Department of Justice, the Community Relations Services, is that right? Community Relations Services, which provides this training around the country to communities and municipalities to do. Very often the DOJ comes out to communities in reaction to issues and problems that have come up in the community. We were fortunate enough to have this training kind of before things are happening, anything happens, and hopefully to help us respond in any way in the future. But it was a great training. It was a 2-day training. I'll say 2 half days, but it was 2 considerable half days, like pretty good chunks. And just learn some skills about, again, facilitating conversations, facilitating meetings with the public around community conflict and issues. So it was very successful. All our commissioners were there, and a number of our community partners showed up as well. Again, so just wanted to report to the community that happened, and it went pretty well. Any comments on that? Next thing I want to report is, and we will get a report from our subcommittee, but our walk, we had a very successful walk, which we'll hear more about, so I won't steal Adora's thunder on it. But we had a very successful walk, so thanks to all in the community for coming out to our walk on June 25th. So I'll just leave it at that right now and let Adora give the details of that. The only other thing I want to share, again, now the public's listening, potentially, hopefully. I know there are a couple people. Actually, a couple people at the walk said that they have watched our live stream, so they were happy to see the live stream on. So to those of you live streaming this and listening to this, you can visit our website. We have a spot on our website on the Rocky Hill Town website, and actually I Googled us to be sure it would pop up, and if you literally just Google Rocky Hill Commission on Inclusion and Innovation, we will pop up and you'll go a link right to our website. The reason I say that is I'll have our dates for our meetings on there. It'll have a link to an email if you wanted to contact the commission and send any communications or email to the commission. You can do that through there. So there were a couple people that asked, how do I reach out to the commission? That is one way that you can reach out, in addition to coming to the meetings, obviously, which we invite people to come. So please visit our website, and there's some other information on there about the commission. That is all I have for my commission report. Are there any questions or comments from any commissioners? All right, we are rolling right through the agenda. Subcommittee reports. So up next, we'll have a report from our Community Conversations Committee.
All right, thank you. As Tom mentioned, we had our first event on the 25th of this month, and it was a walk where we tried to engage members of our community. The DOJ training was something, as Tom mentioned, training to help us facilitate issues and things that happen and occur when, unfortunately, things, when there's conflict. So the walk was a way to kind of be proactive, right, to get people together and to get to know one another and to connect. We were very impressed by the turnout. It exceeded our expectations. I mean, we were hopeful, but it was a really great turnout, and it was awesome. And I'm going to turn over to Ron, who will give some of the feedback that we got on that day.
Well, there was a document that handed out that.
Yes.
A
survey.
A survey that was handed out, and I know that you have copies of that. But I did have quite a few conversations after the fact, and it was all positive. If there was a complaint, it was that the weather just was a little too hot. They felt it was organized. They felt it was well developed. They felt that that people were made to feel comfortable, and they felt that it was a rare and positive opportunity to start the conversation about getting to know one another on a little bit deeper level. So all the feedback that I had, I also did a little bit of emailing back and forth with some people who I knew were there, and again, it was all positive. So we should be really pleased with that. And so thank you all who participated, and certainly thanks to those who gave donations with water and other items on that particular day. So thank you.
Thank you, Ron. So yes, special thanks to Big Y and to Mitchell's, who supplied those items for us. Yes, we did provide surveys for people to fill out because we wanted to get feedback from those who participated, and I just want to read some of the comments that were written. One person said, "I'd love to have more frequent random gatherings like this." Another person said they heard really good stories and new friendships and awareness from the conversations. And one of my favorite was more of the same, fall with donuts and cider. And everyone, everyone who filled out a survey said yes to participating in future walks. So we've got some work to do where that's concerned. Let's see. Another comment that I think that really stood out to me was, in terms of like, how do we build from this? And one person said that they would like to see future, deeper conversations and additional community events that unite our community. Okay. And then the next thing I wanted to mention or report is the proposed meeting dates. We have 3 dates in the future that we would like to do. The first one being Wednesday, July 27th. The second being September 28th, and the third being November 30th. July 27th, September 28th, and November 30th. These will be the subcommittee meetings for community conversations. And we do open it up to the public if anyone would like to attend.
What time are they at?
6 o'clock. Does anyone have any questions? That's it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Yes.
All set?
All right, I think we're all set.
Awesome, thank you. And, again, thanks to the subcommittee for organizing the event. I know Odora and a number of folks on the commission were really instrumental in making this happen, and it took, a number of you to make it happen, so I appreciate all that work everyone did. And, it was a great event. I think it was a great event. I mean, literally, Ron, the same thing I heard, like, it's a little hot, if we could control the weather, but that's, a little. It was a lot hot. It was a lot. But we had plenty of shade, so we had the shade and we had the water and stuff like that. I don't think coffee was a big seller that day, but, the water was a pretty big seller. But no, great event, and we look forward to more events. I know the committee will be looking at scheduling more of those in the future, because this was the first one. So honestly, the success of this this is our first event of any sort as a commission, I think was really positive. So thanks again. Great job. Next up for subcommittee reports are data gathering, research, and analysis. Commissioner Tuttle.
Thank you. So since our last commission meeting, the data subcommittee has reached out and engaged with the Sonic Group, specifically with one of its owners, Sonia Richmond, who we all had a chance to meet during our last commission meeting. We've set up weekly calls with Sonia and the Sonic Group with essentially two goals in mind. First, we want to discuss with them the opportunity to help locate funding for some of the efforts in terms of data collection that the subcommittee will be undergoing. And then second, and maybe more important in the early stages, to get some support towards our data collection efforts more broadly in terms of guidance from them. On that second goal, Sonia has pulled in an additional resource from their team who has a pretty strong data background and in my opinion, is someone that I think will really be able to help guide the subcommittee in the right direction in terms of where to start in terms of data collection out of the gates. So, and just as a refresher, and to get a little more specific, the data subcommittee right now is focused on we're getting Sonic's support in terms of helping them educate us on best practices towards gathering feedback and data from the community relating to community matters or issues that the town of Rocky Hill residents would like the Commission on Inclusion and Innovation to really prioritize and focus on. We want to hear the residents' voices in terms of where we should be expending our energy and time. And so we've begun discussions around the formation of sort of targeted questions for our residents as part of maybe a survey designed to gather this information. We also are thinking through sort of how to best identify the survey participants and the distribution methods to which we should utilize to get this information. We know we want to make sure it's as representative of the town as possible. And so at a high level, we view this to be sort of an ongoing data collection effort, not simply an individual point in time survey. We want to use this the additional, I think, benefit to what we're trying to do is also use the survey and the communication as a way to additionally kind of promote the commission, let the town residents know we're out here, and to help publicize the work that we're doing. So that'll be an added benefit to what we're looking to accomplish. Early stages, we've kicked around a few ideas in terms of the best way to collect that feedback. We probably will look to the subcommittee, the community conversations team, to help us sort of tap into some of the town, social clubs, organizations, things like that, to be able to get a pipeline into their feedback is going to be critical. Some of the other things we've discussed is having an online survey potentially on our webpage so we can get more real-time feedback and data on things that pop up. Another thing we kicked around, which Rebecca, we will probably look for your assistance on, is a way to maybe partner with some of the students at the local school in terms of helping us and making it more of a, inclusive project in terms of gathering this feedback. And if there's, people within the school system or students within the school system that think it would be a worthwhile endeavor, we've thought about figuring out a way to partner with them. So that's sort of a recap, but we're not at a place yet where we have a formal draft plan that I'm ready to present to the commission. But once that is ready, the next step would be to present it to the full commission and get your feedback on, what our approach is, and if you have any comments or edits that you'd like to make, we'll be all ears.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Commissioner Tuttle. Any questions? Ron? Commissioner Cox?
Just, have you looked at any projected timelines or just general sort of timelines?
The funding aspect of it seems like it's not something that's going to happen as quickly as I would prefer.
All right.
And so that might be somewhat of a drag in terms of the timeline. But there are ways to start getting out there and gathering feedback that, doesn't necessarily come with the heavy cost that the commission would have to worry about from a budget perspective. And so we'll try to be mindful of not just sitting and waiting until we have the necessary budget to do the things we want to do, but figure out ways to start trickling out our feelers and start getting information initially that is at no cost. And there are some opportunities with that.
Great. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Anyone else? And I'll just say this, I believe when you're talking about funding with Sonic, they're looking at grant opportunities, right? There's grants that are out there that you can apply for.
Correct.
And I'm just saying that because I'm aware of that, just to make sure the public's aware. So some of the funding that you're looking at getting is outside of the town grants that might become available.
Correct. That comes sort of through an application process in which you set forth your goals and objectives for the use of the funds, and a third party would decide if it was a worthy endeavor and would donate those funds.
Awesome, thank you. And I'll say the same thing to you guys. I mean, you guys have done a lot of work in, 4 months since, 5 months since we've been formed as a commission, and 4 months since I think your committee started working together, and I think we're making some great progress. So I know your timeline is you want to get going and get rolling, but I think we're making some pretty good progress. So I think
Yeah.
your harder work. So
For us, we feel like we need a true north, as they say, for the commission, and if we can, the sooner we can get that, the better, I think, for the entire commission. But obviously, we're not, as evidenced by our event already, we're not stalled by that. But something I'd like to get sooner rather than later.
awesome, thank you so much, Commissioner Tom. All right, next on the agenda, consent agenda, which we have nothing to vote on our consent agenda today. Next is old business, and we have nothing to discuss on old business either. So moving right along to new business, we have some guests with us today. So we have, and I'll let you introduce yourselves. I know Ron Simpson and I know Frank, and I forget your last name, but they will introduce themselves. From the Commission on Human Rights and Opportunities, I can invite you to come up to the mic over here if you guys don't mind, and you can present on kind of, and I'll say this, Dana had invited them and connected with the commission a while back, and so they were nice enough to take time out of their schedule and come after hours in the evening out to Rocky Hill and meet with us. So I so appreciate you guys being
Frank
here.
gets
Thank you.
overtime.
And Frank gets overtime.
I just get
Ron's on salary, so
I
he's,
just get capped out.
thank you, Ron.
First of all, thank you very much for inviting us. It's really a pleasure to be here. My name is Ron Simpson. I'm the regional manager for our Capital Region office of the Commission on Human Rights and Opportunities. The Commission on Human Rights and Opportunities is the oldest state-level civil rights organization in the United States. We even predate the EEOC. So we have been around since 1948. This is Franklin Sykes. Franklin is an investigator in our Capital Region office as well. Let me begin by just saying that we have 4 regional offices. We have an office in Hartford, Waterbury, Norwich, and in Bridgeport. And our mission is to eliminate discrimination in the state of Connecticut. We primarily have 4 areas that we investigate discrimination complaints: employment, housing, public accommodation, and in credit transactions. And right now, one of the new things that we're trying to do at the commission is get out of our office, go out into the community. I'm the regional manager for the Capital Region. So what my goal is to establish communication with human relations commissions, diversity and equity commissions, the Commission on Inclusion and Innovation here at Rocky Hill, for all of the towns in Greater Hartford. You mentioned your Department of Justice training that you had, which was something that was sort of on the forefront and not waiting for something to happen. So that's basically what our approach is to. I wanted to, and I gave all of the investigators, we have 6 investigators in our Hartford office, 4 towns, and said, look, you go and find out what these towns are doing in your area. Frank lives in Cromwell, so Frank had Cromwell, Rocky Hill, Wethersfield, and Newington. So Frank reached out to the town of Rocky Hill to find out what was going on here. And the word that you mentioned earlier, community partners, that is exactly what we are trying to establish with all of the towns in the Capital Region area. And basically, we're trying to do it for a couple of reasons. One is we want to find out what it is you're doing. How are you handling issues and complaints that come before you? Do you have a formal mechanism where a resident or somebody could file a complaint, or an employee of the town? Or do you refer them to or organizations like CHRO? And how can we help you through that process? We provide training on how to do intakes. We provide the sexual harassment training for municipalities all across the state. So there are various trainings that we do as well. But, you know, the thing that I am here about, and we came informally, we don't have any handouts or anything like that, because I want to get to know who you are. I want to get to know what you do. I want to get to know how we can help you. I want to get to know how we can work together and be proactive instead of waiting for things to happen and then, you know, looking at it from that perspective. So again, I have no agenda. I have no handouts or anything like that. I wanted to know who you are. I wanted to know what you do. I wanted to know how you did it. And I wanted to know if we could do some things together. For instance, the state of Connecticut just passed Juneteenth as a state holiday. What are you guys doing for Juneteenth? Is there something that we could do together? We'd love to do something like that. You mentioned your walk. I would have loved to have been here, and we could give out some trinkets and some bottle. We got the little bottled waters, but we could have gave out some things like that.
Yeah, it was that day, but we
So that's basically why we're here. Frank, I don't know if you wanted to add anything from your perspective.
Yes, I mean, I basically, we are sort of the ones on the front line. I'm an investigator. I investigate employment discrimination complaints as they come to our region, and based on specific protected class, race, gender, religion, age, sex, and basically, you know, once you file a complaint, it goes through our process. We do a mediation to see whether we can resolve the case, and then after that, we do an investigation. And we try to, you know, help the public as much as possible to you know, get their voices heard when they have an issue regarding employment discrimination, and of course, public accommodation too. So, as Ron said, we have a number of investigators. I'm one of them in the Capital Region. And this is the kind of work we do. So basically, if you guys have any questions, you know, we are here to answer them now, later, whenever you want. You know, we are here for you. Yes.
With your permission,
Yeah,
Chair?
please.
I'm most familiar with working with your agency through the employment process. Our audience right now, we have a number of residents, hopefully, listening and watching. What is your experience typically relative to residents coming to you from a non-employment perspective? Most of the cases that you deal with, could you help folks who are listening in understand how they can use your services?
Yeah, like what like a public accommodation, that might not mean so much to some people. So if you can.
Well, first of all, public accommodation means if a business or entity is open and provides services to the public, then they have to provide them equally and fairly to everybody in the public. For example, one of the ones that we get a lot is people with, seeing eye dogs or other animals that they have. Being denied access into restaurants or being denied access into certain places. Well, in the state of Connecticut, that's a discriminatory act. You can't deny somebody access into a place that's open to everybody because they have a service animal. So that is one type of public accommodation complaint that we get. Another one is, an interesting one is ADA. We get a lot of complaints from people who feel as though the facilities that the municipality have are not ADA compliant. The sidewalks are too high, or the curve cuts don't allow people with wheelchairs to go down them, and those kind of things. So those are the public accommodation complaints that we get the most. But again, we get other ones where people went in to get their hair done and they say, well, we don't do black people's hair, or we don't do Latino people's hair. Well, if you are open to the public, then you have to be able to serve everybody. So we get some of those too. We also we have a special unit that deals with racial profiling. We are working with Central Connecticut State University in this racial profiling committee that they have put together. So when we talk about public accommodations as Americans, regardless of race or color or sex or age or disability, we all have to be treated the same under the Connecticut law. So those are the public accommodation complaints that we get sort of fall into those categories. Yes.
Did you have a follow-up, Dana?
I'm set. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Cox?
First of all, thank you for being here, and it's wonderful to know who you are and what you do, because that's going to be a tremendous benefit, and we will make sure that anything that happens, you will be aware of. You've been talking essentially about reacting to something, a complaint comes in. Do you have an overarching proactivity? Is that a component of what you do? So you're not just reactionary, which is fine because we need to be that. But do you have that overarching? Could you explain a little bit of your proactivity in this particular area?
Again, that's why we are trying to identify our community partners, and I'm going to use that word because that's what I hope we can become. And once we identify our community partners, for instance, in one of the towns, we are going out and we're providing training on how do you take a discrimination complaint, or how you take a complaint dealing with an ADA issue, or how do you take a complaint dealing with racial profiling. So we're actually going out and training their commission members on how to do that. It was said that, you guys don't want to sort of solve the problem, but if you could be information gatherers and then submit that information to our office, then we would be able to take it from there. We are charged with doing the sexual harassment training across the state of Connecticut for all employers in the state of Connecticut. So we'll go out to that employer, we'll set up the training. We have a whole education and training unit at the commission that loves to go out and train people. Again, it's easier for us to address the issue up front before it becomes a problem. So that is how we sort of are proactive about what we do.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Anyone else have questions? Commissioner Tuttle?
Sure. I'd also like to thank you both for coming here tonight. We appreciate it. I don't think the commission anticipates too many employment complaints coming our way, especially with the Honorable Dana McGee serving as Rocky Hills Director of Human Resources. But in the event other complaints do make their way to us, the warm handoff to you sounds great. Is there an ability for us to stay sort of connected through that process and sort of
Yes.
remain?
Yes. I have business cards that I will leave with her, but anybody can go to chro.ct.gov. That's our website. It will walk you through the entire CHRO process as well.
Are we restricted at some level in terms of being involved in a case or an investigation that you're working on, or is it fairly?
The way we normally take complaints is the person will call our office and say, look, I feel as though I've been discriminated at my job. We have 10 people. I was the only one that was laid off, and I think it's because of my age or my sex or my race.
Sure.
That call will go to Franklin or one of our other investigators. He'll call the person back, get their information, and then set them up with an appointment to come in and file a complaint. So anybody can file a complaint in our office. We get some complaints that are frivolous. We still take them. We have a legal department that will evaluate every single complaint that comes in. So we can never say no to anybody that wants to come in with a complaint. Our legal department would do what's called a case assessment review to make sure we have jurisdiction over the company to make sure that it's in Connecticut and those kind of things. And then once that process happens, it'll go back to Frank or one of the investigators, and they'll try to do a mediation first. Okay, what is it you're looking for as a possible remedy to your complaint? Pretty successful with that. If not, then it will go to a different investigator. So Frank will do the mediation, but he won't do the investigation. So we separate it. We put a firewall between the mediator and the investigator. So that complaint will go to a different investigator in our office, and it'll have what's called a fact-finding conference. Complainant side is here, the company side is there. We hear both sides of the story, and then based on our statutes, we have to decide if in fact discrimination has occurred. And we make a finding, reasonable cause finding or no reasonable cause finding. So that's sort of how our process works. We are independent fact finders. We don't represent the person filing the complaint. We don't represent the company that they're filing it against. We are independent fact finders. And if there is a conflict of interest, the investigator will come to me and say, Ron, my cousin works for this company, or this is a friend of mine, so I can't take the case, and I have to give it to somebody impartial. So we try to keep it fair and impartial investigation. That's basically how our process
And,
works.
I mean, like you said, if you have
Go ahead.
anyone in your, I mean, I'm sure you come across folks who may have some discrimination or employment or something like that, you can just refer them to us, you know, and I'm certain
Yeah.
sure that there are always people out there who have issues, and we are more than willing to assist them in, you know, navigating the process.
Yeah, I mean, I do envision members of the public coming forward and
Yes.
you know, bringing forward complaints. And I think it makes a ton of sense to, you know, refer them to you.
Yes.
But I do think we'll have a vested interest in seeing a positive outcome for that complainant. And so I just want to think through how we can partner with you more than maybe traditionally you're used to from a referral source. If there's a way for us to sort of stay engaged, even if it's sort of a limited capacity, just so that we know the individual who brought forth the complaint felt like the commission heard them and the commission was there to support them.
There's a couple of ways we can do that. I would be perfectly happy to come back and bring the entire intake packet. So you'll see,
Right.
you know, what the person has to fill out. You'll see the process that they go through. And we can basically, I don't want to use the word train you, but show you how the process works. And then you'll be more familiar, you know, with how to refer people to us and things like that. So I would love to come back and maybe set up a day, you know, maybe not at your commission meeting, maybe at a subcommittee meeting, and provide you with all of the information that you would need. We'd love to do that.
That'd be great.
Sure.
And real quick, speaking from experience and working with CHR a little in the past, they have some resources available on their website that have what that process looks like. So if you visit chro.gov, it'll say, here's what you do. It's this process, it's mediation. It'll kind of explain those steps in the process, which is really helpful. Because it can be scary to someone. So I appreciate the questions, because I think it can be very scary to someone from the public who wants to file that complaint against whoever it is, right? A business, an employer, whatever it is, doesn't matter. And it's a little scary, right? And so they might come to us because we're a little less scary, right, than the state agency, you know, which we're not. These guys are not scary guys, right?
Sure.
But so I think, you know, again, that warm handoff, I like that terminology, like to say, hey, here's, you know, we'll help you out. Here's the email for Ron, or whatever. Here's the phone number. Here's who to call, you know, and kind of help them set them up and get them pointed in the right direction. I think is really helpful. So.
Sure.
And our region, the capital region, covers Rocky Hill.
Yeah.
So you're part of our region, so we would actually be the contact.
Right. And if they happen to be a resident,
Into-
right, if they happen to be a resident of Rocky Hill, but they work in Enfield, and the discrimination happens at their workplace, then that would be an Enfield
Yes.
thing,
yes,
which
that's
may be you
exactly.
guys' region, but
Right,
regardless,
but we can
it's
refer
it's
you
where
to-
the
we'll
discrimination
refer you to
happens.
that office. Right, exactly.
Right, okay. Yeah, just want to make sure the public's
And
got it.
before I go, let me just say again, thank you for having us. Thank you for inviting us. As the regional manager for the Capital Region, it's very important that I get to know who you are and what you do, so we can have an ear and, you know, an eye to the ground with things that are going on in this town and other towns. So again, I wanted to use the word community partner. I hope that you guys can consider us to be a community partner and there's things that we have to do in order to get to that level, just let us know. And again, thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, before you go, I wanted to point out, to your point, you know, to get to know people. So for all of the people that are watching or will watch at some point, can be scary, right? You don't know who you're going to share a story with. And now these people have come to us. These are the people who would, again, if they're in the towns that refer to primarily Rocky Hill, that's who you're going to talk to. They're not scary. They're very calm spoken, right? So now it might give people more of a reason to say it's okay for me to call you.
Yeah, let me just share
Wonderful.
This. Let me just share this with you. Again, we have offices in Hartford, Waterbury, Bridgeport, and Norwich. Doesn't mean that I can't take the complaint from somebody from one of these other towns. So if they are referred to us through your organization and say, Ron, I really want you to help work with this person, we can do that. We can do that anywhere in the state of Connecticut. We have jurisdiction over the entire state, so we can do that.
Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having us.
And Dana McGee, you were the ones who we connected, and I really thank you for having us come to this meeting. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, and thank you very much for spending that time with us. I don't know if you're planning on sticking around, but I have a report coming up myself. 2 more items down on the agenda regarding our diversity training initiative, and if you have a few minutes, I'd love for you to sit and hear that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Again, thanks so much, guys, for coming. We really appreciate it. And yes, we do. We are already considering you partners. So you're partners in our
You're stuck.
work. Yeah, we got your email. We got your email, so we know how to get you. We'll make sure everyone's got your email. And again, we've been doing, I think, some pretty good work, and I applaud Dana for making the connections for us to some of these state level agencies. Last meeting, we met with the Commission on Women and Children and Seniors and Equity. I think I got it all out of the state, and so again, another partner. So we are looking actively to develop those partnerships and really appreciate that. So thanks so much. Next up on the agenda for new business is discussion of commission bylaws. I believe commissioners should have gotten an email from Camille and Dana today that shared a draft version of our bylaws of our commission. So really what this is kind of what's called a first reading of the bylaws. We won't actually read them. That's just kind of what it's called. But it's you get these things, or you've gotten them today, so you now have an opportunity to review them, to look them over at your leisure. Please do so in the coming weeks. Any comments, questions, edits, thoughts, concerns you have on the bylaws, you can get them to us. When I say us, you can send them to the executive committee, including Dana and Camille, myself, Rebecca, and Aparna. And then we will take all that and kind of synthesize that and process it. And it might be as simple as an I dotted or T crossed, though I doubt it, because Camille is on the case and she's really good with the details. So there's probably not likely those errors. But if there's concerns or questions, please look through it. Again, these are our bylaws. The process will be that you have this opportunity to give the executive committee your feedback. We'll look to get that feedback. Did you put a date in the email? I did not see that. Okay. So we're going to say by the end of July, as a rough timeline, and I'll follow up. We can follow up with an email closer to that time frame. Sooner the better. If you get it done, then get it to us, get those comments. But I'll say by the end of July, that'll give us the opportunity, the exec committee, to kind of put it together, take a little time to get a next draft, so to speak. Once we get that next and final draft, so to speak, we will bring that to the commission at our August meeting, which is August 31st, because Camille has it right here on the agenda for me. So August 31st, we'll bring that final draft to the commission, get that out to you via email. We will vote on that and hopefully accept that final version of our bylaws. We will then move that, I'm just kind of going through the process so everyone understands how it's going to work. We will then take those approved bylaws by the commission and get those off to town council. Town council will at some point put it on their agenda, and they will approve the bylaws. And once the town council approves them, then they're our official bylaws. And those are kind of the rules of the road for us, so to speak, right? So they are important, they are important. They go through things about membership, about voting, about quorums, and things like that. So take a close look at them. There's a thing in there about representation and stuff. So yeah, please take a look at it and do your best to give us some feedback. So any questions on that process from any of the commissioners? Dana, anything to add, or Camille?
Only that the draft bylaws will be available in the minutes, so that
yes.
the public can have a look at what those bylaws will
There you
look
go.
like
Excellent.
eventually.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, so the minutes of the meetings are available on our website. So you will see those. There's a link there. If you look at our website, there's a link for agendas and minutes. I believe they're both on there, right, Camille? Right, both on there. So this will be attached. That draft of the bylaws, which are part of today's meeting, will be in that draft, minutes for today's meeting. So thank you, on the website. Appreciate that. Any other comments or questions? All right, now we're on to Dana has a topic to discuss diversity, equity, and inclusion training that's
Thank
going to
you.
be happening.
Very much. So I have to say, thankfully, with the strong endorsement and support of our mayor and the town manager, the town is moving forward with its initiative relative to diversity training. It's actually diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging training for town employees, for municipal employees. We are in the early stages of that process. I'm sharing that with you because I see synergies between what we have to do to prepare the curriculum for that training and the work of our data gathering, research, and analysis group. To be a little more specific, through CROG, that's the Connecticut Council of Regional Governments, we sat on a committee that engaged in a very rigorous process through a competitive bid process. The CROG organization retained the services of the Daniel Penn Associates, DPA is the acronym, group that will be leading our diversity training efforts. In fact, they will also do the same for CROG as well as for other individual municipalities. And that work begins with a needs assessment. Remaining true to our ordinance, we want to make sure that whatever curriculum is developed is tailored specifically for the Rocky Hill community and based upon the priorities and needs of the community that our employees serve. And so the curriculum development will begin with a needs assessment where we go into the community and find out what the concerns are, what the issues are within the community, so that the curriculum can be based around that. We have identified some community partners, including Alan Tan, our state-level commissioner, Women's and Children's and Seniors Commission, and I always get that full name wrong. Please, Commissioner Tan, forgive me. But I've already warned him that we will be coming to him for some assistance relative to that needs assessment, and I'm hoping that CHRO will also consider itself to be a community partner so that perhaps you could help us in developing this needs assessment survey. And just as Commissioner Tuttle mentioned, the survey will come in multiple formats, be it written, be it electronic. For people who want to come in and have a conversation, we'll have to make sure that we create a forum for that also, so that the curriculum that we ultimately create is something that's based on what the community residents said they need from those of us who are providing services to the community. And then in terms of funding for that, Commissioner Tan has already indicated that he will be perhaps of assistance to us relative to grant opportunities for that also. So I wanted to put that on the table, tell you how excited we are as a staff to have that initiative on our plates and to have the support that we've already gotten from our town leaders.
All right, thank you, Dana. Any
you.
questions on that from the commissioners for Dana? All right, hearing none, that is all we have on the agenda for today. Before I close, I'll just again thank Ron and Franklin for coming out today from CHO. Really appreciate you guys coming out and joining us. Look forward to partnering with you, as we go forward. And, as we have had DOJ, Community Relations Services here, in town, and have you guys here at our meeting, and have Commission on Women, Children, Seniors, Equity, and Opportunity. I got it all down pat. I studied it. Had them here. I think it's all really valuable to our community. I think these are things that I think we are somewhat unique in Rocky Hill in having some of these things happen here now. And I think we should all be proud of that as commissioners, and thankful to Dana and Camille, and thankful to, our mayor and the town council for supporting this commission. So again, I know we've said that a couple times, but it feels like I need to say it, more often, so, because we do appreciate it. So again, thank you very much. Having said that, I will accept a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Maria George. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting